I now call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m., approximately 5:30 p.m., 5:31.
Commissioner Boisvert? Here. Commissioner Berry?
Here.
Commissioner Devane? Here. Commissioner Garrison? Here. Commissioner Myers?
Here.
And Chair Flores previously asked to be excused from this evening's meeting.
The June 10th, 2024 minutes are submitted for approval. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made? Okay. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
No, yes.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, thank you. All right, do we
I'm
have,
sorry, I didn't hear who was the mover and the second.
I was the mover.
And I second. Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay, do we have any visitor comments? Okay. There are no visitor comments, so we'll move into staff reports if Fred has anything in that regard. No? And then unfinished business, I don't see anything on the agenda for that. So we'll move straight into new business, the public hearing 7.1 CA 2024-02, alterations of windows. The address is 214 South 7th Street. Brian Land is the applicant. Would you like to step forward?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, no, you gotta read the script.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
There will be a little bit. Okay.
This is my
Gotta
first
follow
time
the
in the
script.
chair, so it's gonna be entertaining for everyone. Okay. Read land use script.
So I had it clipped behind your agenda script.
Okay. I do have it. Looks like there's two of them and there's two for the same number. Is that right?
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, well then.
It might just be duplicate, but I wanna make sure just before I can just proceed with the 2024-02, but it looks like there just might be two copies. And I have three right here. Okay, thank you. So I just read this whole thing?
Yep.
Okay, I now open the public hearing on application for certificate of appropriateness by number CA 2024-02. The hearing will be conducted in coordinates with the Independence Development Code and State Law ORS 197.763. Specifically, the staff will present the staff report and recommendation. The applicant will then have an opportunity to present the proposal and address any issues raised by staff report and recommendation. For public testimony, I will first ask to hear from people who would like to speak in favor of the proposal. I will then ask to hear from people who have neutral comments or questions about the proposal, neither for nor against. And finally, those in opposition to the proposal will have an opportunity to present their testimony as well. City staff may then present additional material and recommendations based on the public testimony. The applicant will be given an opportunity to have the last word. After each presentation, I will ask for questions from the commission. If you intend to present oral testimony, please fill out the request to speak form located at the city recorder station over here to your left. We are recording this hearing, so please also clearly state your name and the city of residence when you are called to speak. This will help in preparing accurate written minutes of the hearing and also assist with mailing copies of the decision to all interested parties. If you have written testimony or other evidence to submit, please give it to the staff so it can be entered into the record. The commission is required to disclose any conflicts of interest and ex-party contacts that they have with the proposal or the applicant. That is whether we have any financial or other personal interest in the proposal and whether we have spoken with anyone about the proposal outside this hearing. Also, commissioners may also participate if they can do so without undue bias either for or against the application. Do any commissioners wish to make disclosures? No, okay, we're proceeding. Are there any challenges from the audience as to conflicts of interest, ex parte contacts, or bias related to any member of the commission? Okay. State law requires me to tell you a number of things at the beginning of the hearing. First, the applicable substantive criteria that apply to this application are contained in the written staff report and will be identified and discussed in the oral staff report. Second, your testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward those criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or development code that you believe apply to this application, which is ORS 197.7635B. Third, failure to raise any issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker or other people an opportunity to respond may preclude appeal of decision on this application based on that issue. ORS 197.7635C. Finally, to the applicant, failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the city to respond to the issues precludes an action for damages in circuit court. ORS 197.7963B. Now we will hear the staff report from Fred.
Thank you very much. Hi there, everybody. My name is Fred. I'm the city planner here at the City of Independence, and I'm happy to present on this application, CA 2024-02. This proposal seeks to change out a number of the windows on the house at 214 South 7th Street. According to the historical documents, it says the house was built around 1904, but on the house itself it says 1890 on a little sign. So I don't quite know why those differences exist, but it's an older house. It's at 7th and C. The description of the building is included in the packet on page 6. I'll read it, just since everybody doesn't have the packet. It says, this two-story residence has a modified L-shaped plan. It has a gable roof with a partial return and is covered with composition shingles, shiplap siding, and shingles at the gable end sheathe the exterior. A concrete block foundation supports the building. The windows are paired, 1/1, double-hung wood sash with a projecting cornice. The rear door is paneled and glazed. The eaves are bracketed and there are stick-style details. The shed roof porch has square post and a solid balustrade. A rectangular bay window appears to have been removed from the north elevation and replaced with windows which have decorative surrounds somewhere around 1930 or 1940. The rear addition may have been a separate structure which was moved into place. The building faces east on the corner of South 7th Street and C Street and is in excellent condition. That was written in 1989, or about the building. This proposal seeks to change out all of the windows on the building. The windows that would be used would be renewal by Andersen Windows. And what you will note in the staff report is just some of the details that the Secretary of Interior's standards and guidelines say that we should use to process window changes. Now, we don't get these very often. The last time, in fact, was Ken Fetters in the front row, and the other guy, I think his name was Mike or something, came through at the same meeting, maybe a year, maybe a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. So we don't get many of these window change requests. But you'll remember at the time, and maybe you won't all remember at the time, I likened it to like mitigation sequencing for wetlands, which was a bad illustration, so I apologize. And instead, the guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings says it very clearly, and so I should have just used that at the time. It says that ideally you want to protect wood windows. If you can't protect the wood windows that are in the building, then you repair them. And it's only after those two options that you could go to replace the historic wood windows. Now in this instance, some of the windows in the building have obviously been changed, and I do have that in the packet. When we look at page 17 of the packet, and I should have got the laser pointer, I apologize. Thank you, Karen. When we look at this, we can see what this building used to look like. And it's really interesting looking at a house over time, isn't it? So you can see that this used to have a different shape. Right now, this is completely square right there, but it used to have windows like that, the tall windows at the top, a window like this, and then these were not the divided lights that we see currently on the building. When we scroll down, we can see that, let's keep on scrolling down just a little bit more. At a certain point, oh, it's not that page that I want to show. How about, yeah, is it 19?
Well, this is,
The next one, Karen, next one. Next one, attachment B right there. So you can see these windows were similar to what's on the building now. This was the original shape. You can see the original porch windows used to, it appears that they were 1/1 with no divided lights. And you can see that it used to have a porch on the side of the building that's now enclosed. Right? Let's keep on going down. When we look at a later picture, we can see that the single window right there, you can see the enclosed porch, you can see that this was then replaced by a divided light similar to what is over on the porch. And then going to the next picture, we can see that that sort of, these are called muntins or whatever, that divide this window have been replaced by the gridded light at the top of these windows right here. And you can see this is essentially what the current building looks like. So, I guess I show you all of that stuff because it's clear to me that these windows right here and these windows right here are not original to the building. But it's less clear that these windows are not original to the building, the upper story windows. Now, I bring all that up because generally, if the windows are not original to the building, there's not a whole lot of concern replacing the windows so long as they can fit within the opening that's there. Scroll down to the next one, Karen, so you can see this window right here. There's a 1960 picture. This window was probably in the 1960s, similar to this window over here. But this window has, and I'm pointing at the wall because there's a window on this part of the house that likely was similar to this window that's since been replaced. So you can scroll down just a little bit more. This shows some of the detail of these windows. These windows have what's called a lamb's tongue on them. It's just essentially a little detailing bit in the corner of those windows. That's a unique historic feature. I bring that up because, you know, especially as we're talking about replacing windows, if it does get to the point where protection is not possible, repair is not possible, and replacement is the standard, then generally the historic preservation standards want you to replace and try and do something similar to the historic design of the building. All of that being said, what my staff report suggests is, and we have gotten subsequent information about some of the windows, is at this point, there's the amount of information that we've seen to either protect or repair the windows is not sufficient enough to get us to the point where we could go to replacement of the windows. Now, because the windows on the ground floor have probably been replacements, I would say it's probably fine to replace the windows on the ground floor. The upper story windows though, at this point, I would say we likely do not have enough information about those windows. Now, today, we did forward you information that was provided by the applicant, and I've got all this paper over here. About the nature of the windows that would be replaced and on the building. That is for your reference. So I guess that's basically my recommendation. And it's essentially that the historic preservation standards want to see details about protecting, repairing before replacing. That can be bypassed if the windows are shown to not be original to the building, and that the windows that are going to be installed are consistent with the character of the building. Generally, what's proposed for the bottom of the house is generally consistent. Though I will note that, you know, some of the detailing on like divided light windows, as we can see in the some of the detailing about the windows, I saw it somewhere. The detailing on the windows is not like a full piece of wood through the divided light. So divided lights, I'm sorry, these are called divided light windows right here. This is a piece of wood that divides into separate panes, right? On replacement windows, generally it's a piece of glass, and then the divided lights, the piece of wood does not actually go all the way through the glass. Even though it would be on both sides. It would kind of look like it goes all the way through, but it's actually a divided piece. It's two separate pieces with a piece in the middle.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The agenda, okay, it's got numbers on it, 101, 102, 103, 104. Is there anything that we have that shows what 101 is, 102, 103, and 104?
No, and I had the same question. When I was looking at it, I just assumed that 104, 105, 107, and 108 were the upstairs windows. But I didn't, or like these windows right here is what I assumed those were from this middle. So I would say that's essentially my recommendation, is I would either ask for more information about the nature of the existing windows, or I would approve the windows on the ground floor of the building and ask for additional information about the windows on the top.
Okay.
That makes sense. Okay. Are we ready to proceed to the applicants, the people that are in favor? Do you have any questions?
So downstairs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 windows. Is that correct?
You know, I've only seen the street side portions of this house.
Well, what I'm doing is looking
Yeah,
at this,
yeah.
you know. Okay. So 8 windows, all I'm saying is 8 windows are downstairs and the rest of them are upstairs.
Right, and just based on what I got from the applicant right before this meeting, a number of the downstairs windows, I'm sorry, can you go back up to the porch window, Karen? Have more of this nature in the downstairs. This is essentially a 2/2 single hung window. It goes up and down like that, and it's got 4 panes of glass with the wood in between. A lot of the downstairs windows have that nature based on the pictures of this way.
Do all of the windows that are upstairs appear to be original, or just the one that's front facing?
You know, I haven't looked at all of the windows on the property. Can you go to this side image, Karen? Oh, down, I'm sorry. There's an image from this side, one more. This image right here.
Right.
I would say these are definitely original. I'm not certain about this guy right here. It's interesting to me when I look at this right here, I wanna say that this window opening, I imagine that this used to be 2 windows right here to match this.
Well,
And the thicker trim like that is intended to cover up a larger hole that's in the wall.
when you look at page, I don't know.
It's just a guess.
This one,
Yeah,
that window, this is not numbered this page, but anyway, what you're talking about is this window.
I
They
can't,
can't see what
so if you go up a page, that's where I think it ends.
Yeah, well, isn't that the front?
So this is the front, and so when we looked at that original old picture, we could see windows just like, very similar to this in the upper portion. We saw the cutouts right here, cutout right here, we saw the porch right here. And so these 2 windows came down to a window like that. So it's possible that there was a window, like whatever this was, that window from the original picture was on this, a similar one was on this side as well. That could have been the case too. But we can see that this used to be more symmetrical like that.
Right.
And it was the enclosing of this porch that encouraged the addition of that window.
And maybe the applicant can speak on the upper windows too. Is everybody ready to proceed with the applicant? I would like to welcome, sorry. Brian Hunt, if the opportunity to have him speak, that would be great.
So if you go back to the 1926 image of the house. Which is that. The front is a Victorian front with stained glass windows in the very front where it says original window in the center, with 45-degree angle inserted windows, tall single hung windows on the 45-degree angles on both sides. And the porch that was there actually had that was a main entrance into the house back when the Coxes lived there. And we got these pictures from George and Georgia Cox, who at the time when we met them were down in Medford, and they provided us these 1927 images. So since then, there was a fire, and we have the documentation that they provided. There was a fire in 1938 that gutted the downstairs, at which time they lost that whole Victorian front, the stained glass window, the main stained glass window in the front, as well as the 45-degree angles on the side. Then they enclosed the entire porch back then. And if you go to the 1960s image, you'll see it's another black and white image there. You can see that front that has the enclosed porch is now just a single window with multiple grids in it. And then if you go to the actually 1990, 95, 97 image, when we purchased the home in 95, you can see, yeah, that's kind of it's rotated, but there's another image in there. There, the house. Now, they're the single with the multiple panes as the single window in front has also been changed from the 1960s to the 1997, 95 when we purchased it, to just having the grids above, what do you call them there? The light?
Yeah, like a divided light.
Divided light, having divided light above them, so five individual divided lights over the each picture window that's there. And so the 13 windows that we're looking at changing start with the dining room window on the far left over the porch, and actually changing those to plate glass windows that will match the existing windows on the front of the house with the 5/1 grid as shown. But because of the space dimensions, we can only get, in the same space dimension, we can only get 3 grids or 3 divided lights over one in each one of those windows instead of 5. Otherwise, the windows would be really small. And so that was our attempt to hopefully make the front of the house look more aesthetically correct. And then if you rotate, go to another picture that shows the north side of the house. Sorry. That side there, you can see we still have the 5/1 picture window now on the north side where the main entrance and porch used to be. And we want to keep those picture windows as they are, as they exist today, but put new glass in them, which will have the exterior wood on the outside, inside and outside of the house to give it that same depth dimension as they have now. But it'll be more thermally efficient, and it will be double pane argon nitrogen filled. Dimensions won't change at all in those windows. They'll be identical to what's there. And the frames around all of those windows will stay, as will the window seal and everything. So it's just a window replacement and not anything to do with the frames or anything. In terms of the back bedroom window that's on the right of that image, it does match the existing one on the dining room window. Our proposal is, you can see the small bedroom window up in the upper left. That's a single hung, single hung window, which is consistent with all the other windows in the house on the lower floor, back side of the house, where the bathroom and backside bedroom are. And we would like to keep those as they are, as a more of a double hung to where they can be open from the top or the bottom. But no dimensional changes in those at all. And the downstairs one on the right that you can see right now would look just like the one to the upper left. So it would become a double hung window, so they would look alike. Now in terms of the upstairs windows, the very large ones with the lamb's tongue on them, those are the only, I sent Fred new images today, close-ups of all the pictures, all the windows. And those 2 windows, the elongated ones on the second floor with the lamb's tongue, are what we think too to be probably the only windows in the house that are original to the house from the 1927s. And they are non-functional. They've been painted closed many years ago, and not so sure there's weights or anything in the walls with those, but we would like to make them functional. And if we can replace them, we wouldn't change, none of the trim gets changed, just the glass, and they would be functional and thermally efficient. We did put a new 97% furnace in this year, and so we'd like to propose that we do that. And in terms of the lamb's tongue, I told Fred, we're more than willing to seek a craftsman or somebody to work with Renewal by Andersen and either add a piece to their window that they make for those windows and add that to it. So when you're looking at the house from outside, you still see that dimensional lamb's tongue on the window, if that would help to get those windows changed out. So we're really seeking to just make them all functional, look aesthetically the same, and not change any of the windows other than that front porch windows, to bring those grids into the top and make them plate glass or picture windows that they'll tie in with the divided light that you can see on the north and the east side of the house currently. I think that's it. Oh, yes, and we did consult the guy out of Joseph Sekerson, I think is how you pronounce his last name, from Dallas, who does restoration, restoring wood windows, and we told him what we wanted to do, and he gave us a cost, and he said, you know, it's a good case against, he wouldn't be able to make them any more energy efficient. He would use the existing glass that's in the window and just essentially rebuild the windows, and the cost would be, if not more, by the time the only way to make more energy efficient, which we don't care to do to the house, is put storm windows over the top of these existing windows. It's a possibility, we don't know the total cost in that, but combined with Joseph doing restoration to restore them and make them functional and leave them as they are, and then adding storm windows to them would exceed what we're looking at to make them thermally efficient all the way around the house right now. So none of the windows on the back side of the house or on the south side of the house are going to be changed out. Only these and what faces the garage over there. There's 2 bedroom windows and a bathroom window, which I sent Fred pictures of those today as close-ups, and none of those have lamb's tongue or anything on them that kind of dates them back to the 1920s. So I guess that's about it. If there's any question. Oh, and as far as the, when you look at the addendum, what I sent Fred, if you look at 104, 105, 107, 109, if you look at the original window order that we've asked Renewal by Andersen to put together, if you scroll down and look at 104, 104 actually is the upstairs bedroom window, which is the one you're seeing on the side, or the picture we're looking at right now. That one, we changed it from the original to having the, let's see, picture. Oh, as a double hung window with tempered glass, because it is at a height to where it's less than 3 feet off the ground, and they worry about safety of somebody falling through the windows, as well as, so that's the primary window in the bedroom. So they'll come with tempered glass, but we turned those into, originally when we put the order in, they were not going to be a double hung window. We were just going to have those windows as plate glass windows with no grids in them and just solid glass. But after reading the thing about making them look the way they are right now, we decided to go ahead and have those changed. So that's why 104 stands out, that window will become a double hung window with safety glass in it because of the height of those windows. Right now, the single glass, a child can fall through those windows. Nothing's to stop them from the glass breaking and going out the window, where the new safety glass, it breaks into beads. So that is a fear for now having grandkids staying with us from time to time, is the concern of those upper windows being single pane and not safety glass. So the addendum items are call-outs, and if you see that it says that they're going to be changed. 105, 104, 105, 107, 108 will be changed to double hung with true screens on them, but they will be safety glass windows. So that's all the upper, those 4 windows are the upper large ones that we're referring to that look more historical than any of the other windows. And then the second line item in the addendum, it talks about the grills at the top of that dining room window will be a 3 wide over 1 to match the height of the living room windows that have the divided light in them. So the dimensions and the heights will stay the same to match the downstairs.
I would like to now about anyone in favor, just speaking, I think that we have a card here for Ken Fetters.
No, on the other one.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's Ken. Hi, Ken. Would you like to come? Is there, I think there's, oh no, you're Ken Fetters, but you're for the second.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Is there any, let me go back to my screen to write that myself. Is there any neutral testimony about this? Is there any proposed testimony? Okay. And is there any further questions from the commission?
I'm really impressed with the amount of thought you put into this. I'm curious, what's underneath those really wide casings? Do you know? Are they in good shape, or were they put in there because the original window, the replacements they had put in a long time ago were wider?
It's hard to tell on the front of the house because you would think that original stained glass windows there is nothing near the dimensions of the 2 doubles, the 2 picture glass that they put in when they expanded when they enclosed the porch. I have no idea. I suspect that maybe the potential is like Fred brought up, the window on the far bottom right may have been more like the one above. And when they did that and put a smaller window in there, they may have decided that they were going to fill that in with some type of structure instead of trying to replace siding.
And then they just made the other windows match.
Yeah, and then they tried to make the other windows match as they changed those out as well. So to me, I don't like the appeal of it personally when I look at it, and they used to have it painted different colors, like a blue with a white and stuff. It's not the greatest feature on the house, if you want to put it that way, but to try to change the house back to the 1927s would be, a huge undertaking. So we just want to keep the house the way it looks currently, but change the efficiency and the functionality of the windows and make them safe, for our little ones that are running around there. So thank you.
Yes.
So I guess I just move into approve the certificate of appropriateness at this point.
We declare that hearing and record closed.
So, if I could just jump in.
Sure.
I think, if I could just add, one more thought, especially with those couple of upstairs windows. I mean, Joseph definitely was out at the site. When I talked to Joseph, I asked if I could have the bid, just because, and he said that he didn't provide the bid. I think that especially for the upstairs windows, trying to get that idea of what that might cost, it might be a good idea. One of the things about historic preservation literature is they really discourage replacing windows. And the reason that they discourage replacing windows is because any sort of energy efficiency that you're gonna get from the replaced windows is never gonna pay for itself. They also say in replacing windows, a lot of the character defining features of the building are lost. And so especially for those couple of tall windows on the top of that building, I would highly recommend at least asking Joseph or having somebody else come out there and look at the characteristics of those windows to evaluate if they can be protected or repaired before a replacement feature is installed. If you look at the details from Renewal by Anderson, they're pretty much square windows, you know, and so some of those are rectangular windows. So some of those detail features that you see on a historic window would not be duplicable.
Right.
So just that would be my recommendation. That I think the windows on the ground floor we've sort of established are not original to the building. But the windows on the upper story, we know less, we know less about, I would say.
Yeah, we spoke to Renewal about that, the Lamb's time, and they did state that their windows would not have the Lamb's time. They don't know of any manufacturers that make those. You'd have to have them a craftsman make them. Like I said, we'd be willing to try to get Joseph or somebody to add, I mean, the window dimensions through Anderson would be identical to what's there, it's just that the Lamb's time would not be there. And we're
I'm
willing,
sorry, what was it, the what?
the dimensions wouldn't change at all
Yeah,
of those
what would
windows,
be-
but the Lamb's tongue would not be part of the window. And that we would have to get a craftsman to try to add that after the fact, which we're willing to do. And then we did get a verbal quote from Joseph that he estimated per window, not the upper by itself, but per window, there's two there, that he was estimating around $2,000 each per window, so $4,000, so $8,000 for the 4 upper windows.
I might urge you to talk to Woodale Wood Windows in Portland. Dale did a sash for me that matched the pre-existing one perfectly. It was a lot less than mine in Anderson.
Okay.
So he's in the phone, but I can give you the information.
Okay.
Good guy.
So at this point, would we request to hold the record open with requesting more evidence of the upper windows?
Okay.
Yes, that's,
I mean, you could do that, you could approve the lower story if you wanted to. That would be doable as well.
Okay, so,
Those were my two recommendations, either ask for more information or approve the bottom story and ask for additional information on the top story.
and so does the council move to approve with the recommended suggestion, or rather recommendation by staff to approve the lower windows and then have the applicant provide more information about the upper level, second story? Do we need to do that? No, okay. Okay, so what do we do if we don't agree? Just vote.
Well, correct?
Well, that's good.
I just question, how did you what information do you need to know if the windows upstairs are repairable or not? What does that look like?
So I did reach out to the state and just ask, what they would recommend, and so the materials that I included on the dais, evaluating historic windows for repair or replacement. That's the information that was provided to me, from the state. And so what you can see is just details about the windows, and then, just guidance about how to evaluate the nature of the existing windows. And so documentation of deterioration, stuff like that. Also, if there's information that shows that the windows are not original to the building, something like that could be beneficial too. Though one of the things that the historic standards talk about is if a feature has acquired historic significance in its own right, I would say those windows look like they've been on the building for a fair amount of time. So that's probably a historic feature in its own right that you should probably protect it. So documenting the amount of deterioration of the window, and I think, if an expert like Jeff was saying, or somebody, or potentially Joseph, went out there and took a look at the windows and said, yeah, these are not salvageable, then, and provided that to the commission, I would say that would be a fine way to go.
So is this where we would have moved to approve with your recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application file number CA 2024-02, adopting findings, conditions, and staff recommendations in the staff report, which are to accept the lower windows, accept the windows on the first floor, and then request more information for the second floor.
That would be a fine motion.
Okay. And then now's the time that we vote on that.
Yeah.
All we need is.
You need a second.
I'll say, okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, and then as far as, since there's no objections, the hearings,
No, we have to vote.
we just did vote.
We have to vote.
I second it.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry.
No, no,
It's
it's doing great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we moved to approve it, and we got a second, and now we vote.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And all opposed? Okay. Okay, so now what do you say, Lex?
It's adopted.
It's adopted. You have been adopted. Thank you. And now we'll move on. Okay. Alright, so this is 7.2, public hearing, CA 2024-03, alteration of siding regarding 138 South 3rd Street, and the applicant's name is Jay Green.
Shouldn't just be citing, I don't think, there's more going on here. Oh, I see, it's on, my staff report just says it wrong, I'm sorry, but I modified that.
What was wrong about it?
Oh, it's citing on the historic home, it's talking about a new bay window, talking about opening a previously enclosed porch. We can get into it, but it's more significant than just that, so it could just be alteration to historic, single family homes.
Okay, I now open the the public hearing on application of certificate of appropriateness for file number CA-2024-03. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with the Independence Development Code and State Law ORS 197.763. Specifically, the staff will present the staff report and recommendation. The applicant will then have an opportunity to present a proposal and address any issues raised by the staff report and recommendation. For public testimony, I will ask to hear from people who would like to speak in favor of the proposal. I will then ask to hear from people who have neutral comments or questions about the proposal, neither for nor against. Finally, those in opposition to the proposal will have an opportunity to present testimony. City staff may then present additional material and recommendations based on public testimony. The applicant will be given the opportunity to have the last word. After each presentation, I will ask questions from the commission. If you intend to present oral testimony, please fill out a request to speak from a form located at the city recorder station if you haven't already. We're recording this hearing, so please also clearly state your name, city of residence when you're called to speak. This will help in preparing accurate written minutes of the hearing and also assist with mailing copies of the decision to all interested parties. If you have written testimony or other evidence to submit, please give it to the staff so it can be entered into the record. The commission is required to disclose any conflicts of interest, party contacts that we have with the proposal or the applicant. That is, whether we have any financial or other personal interest in the proposal, and whether we have spoken with anybody about the proposal outside this hearing. Also, commissioners may only participate if they can do so without undue bias either for or against the application. Do any commissioners wish to make disclosures? No. Okay.
I live right across the street, and we talked about this project a little bit, so I just wanted to get aware of that.
Okay. Thank you for that. Are there any challenges from the audience as to conflicts of interest, contacts, or bias related to any member of the commission? Okay. A few required statements here. The state law requires me to tell you a number of things at the beginning of the hearing. First, the applicable substantive the criteria that apply to this application are contained in the written staff report and will be identified and discussed in the oral staff report. Second, your testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards those criteria or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or development code that you believe apply to this application, ORS 197.7635B. Third, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker or other people an opportunity to respond may preclude appeal of the decision on this application based on that issue. That's ORS 197.7635C. Finally, to the applicant, failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the city to respond to the issues precludes an action for damages in circuit court, ORS 197.7963B. So we will now proceed to hear from Fred regarding the staff report.
Perfect. Hi there, everybody. It's Fred Evander again, city planner here at the City of Independence. So this project would seeks to modify the building at 138 South 3rd Street. It's the structure, the home right next to the historic First Baptist Church.
Yep.
The historic First Baptist Church there. Just off of 3rd and B. 3rd B. The project would conduct a number of changes to the home. The home, I would say at this point, is in fairly rough shape. There was a decision, I don't know, a few years ago, to conduct a huge alteration on the building that was made by the Historic Preservation Commission. But this is a different project. The house has not seen a lot of work in a lot of years, a very long time. Some of the alterations that are proposed to the structure, and Karen, if you could go to page, let's say, let's say 49 of the packet. That would be beneficial. Some of the things that would be included are the addition of a new bay window to the front of the building. That is supported by historical evidence that that bay used to be there. If you go up one page, Karen, you can see sort of a depiction of that bay right there. There's First Baptist Church right to the right, with the old pastor or something like that, John Wesley Osborne or whatever his name was. Anyway, this depicts the bay in the area. If you go up one more page, Jeff actually provided this image that also shows the bay window for the house as well. So a bay window used to be there. The applicant is seeking to recreate that bay design. Also, when you go down to page, let's say 51, Karen, you can see another thing that's proposed is taking this enclosed porch and reopening that. That enclosure would not have been original to the building. And you can actually still see the seam in the house where the siding was added to enclose that bay. The applicant would reopen that feature. Also, you can see some of this shingle work above the porch would be reestablished to match this siding. This is not original, it would match more of the original house siding. The project would remove both chimneys on the house. It would place a new front door on the building to match the existing back door. It would also remove a previous addition to the structure and, can you scroll down maybe a couple of pages, Karen, hopefully when you stop. Yeah, so go up just one
That's the
page.
addition that would stay.
This is the addition that would stay, and you can see that this addition as it exists right now has some craftsman features on it. The house itself is more, I don't know, maybe Victorian? More Victorian. This is more craftsman style, so you can see the exposed rafters right here, the blocky trim sort of work around the windows. What the applicant proposes to do is just make this look like it's more a part of the house. So it would, that this portion would match the siding on the rest of the house. Some of the trim work would match the siding on the rest of the house. And this would, a new fascia board would be put here, and then a soffit underneath, just to make it look more like the rest of the house. Generally, I will say that that's not something that the historic standards want you to do. It wants to show the evolution of the structure, where you can see, oh, this was the original building, this was an addition, this is, and it wants to show that difference over time. Generally, it's supportable in this case though, because it's still obvious it's an addition. The roof line's different, all of that stuff is different. And also, it's not visible from the street at all. So it is supportable in this instance. Some of the other things, if you scroll down maybe a couple more, Karen, just calling out some ideas. You can see it's very overgrown on the side of the building. This is one of the chimneys that would be removed. And then also this right here, you can see this is the original structure. This portion, which faces the street, this is the addition. You can tell that the addition itself used to have a porch that came off like this. This was the porch, you can tell. And then this right here is a later addition. You can tell by the change in the siding again, that would be removed. So you can see there's a lot of stuff that is associated with this project. Additionally, the applicant would like to remove, or replace all the windows on the structure. The applicant has provided details about a number of the windows in the building. That was not reflected in, the original staff report. We didn't have that information at the time. But those, that information does depict a number of those windows as they exist right now. So generally, staff, based on the information provided, the applicant does think that potentially 4 windows are salvageable. I would recommend that you folks approve this application and consider whether it makes sense to reuse those 4 windows in the front elevation to recreate that bay, and to have 2 above and 2 beneath, or if it makes sense to go to all new windows. You can see the house has had a lot of just exposure to the elements. There's plants growing through
Yeah.
the upper story.
Yes, but it matches the wallpaper.
That does.
So there is all of that stuff. The staff report details a number of the things. A lot of the things that are proposed are completely consistent with the standards. You know, opening the porch is gonna make that a really cool, the porch should be open. The addition of the bay window is gonna be a very nice change to make. The removal of the back addition, there's no problems with that. Also, there's a couple of chimneys that would be removed. Generally, the standards don't want you to remove chimneys, but one of the chimneys has no support underneath it. It's literally being held up by the roof.
Right, it's the one that's visible from the street, the main chimney. Someone has removed it from the ground to somewhere in the floor joist between the first and second floor. And, right now, the roof truss is supporting some of the weight, and there's a couple cracked wrappers in the upper part because it's trying to support that weight. It's leaked pretty bad, there's a lot of rot around it. Primarily, it's causing structural damage because there's nothing supporting it.
Siding that you're keeping, is that siding on the front of the house?
Yeah, the 1x6 shiplap,
And that's what you're trying to duplicate on the
Yes.
other side also?
yes.
Okay.
Don't we want the applicant?
Yeah, so you're gonna want the applicant to speak. I will say that there's 4 conditions recommended as part of it. Those are included on page 29 of your staff report. You folks, or your packet, you folks can take a look at those. Generally, this proposal would be a positive change to the structure. I guess the statements that I made in the last staff report about windows, all of those things sort of apply here too. I think at a certain point, we probably need to get more details about like the condition of windows before it's coming to you folks now. The applicant has provided a lot of information about the details of the existing windows, and a number of the windows are rough, at this point. So I will leave it up to you folks to decide what to do with the windows, sort of acknowledging that probably the historic standards would want us to have more information before allowing window replacements.
What about the type of wood that they're using for the siding and things like that? I don't see much detail in that.
The applicant has said that, they feel comfortable, duplicating the wood siding that's on the rest of the house. He can speak for himself, but he does have connections with a mill, is that correct?
Okay.
So he did not feel that, changing it to that other siding was gonna be a difficulty.
Okay, well, I do think hearing from the applicant at this point, if Jay Green would like to step up.
Also with the house,
Would you mind stating your name?
sorry, my name is Jay Green. Currently I live in Willamette, Oregon. There's very significant rot underneath the house. There's several beams that have to be replaced. The front of the house, the only foundation that there is the front of the house. The rest of it's all beam and post. It's been exposed to animals and weather. The foundation is broken in the front of the house, so that would have to be replaced. And then the brick rebuilt to look like it does now. I mentioned the chimney is breaking the trusses. And the evaluation I did on the windows was entirely from the inside. It currently has aluminum storm windows on the outside, so I can't get to the outside to see how rotten they are. And again, that's not original, that's just junk that's on there. The entire south side of the house has wisteria growing through the windows. And the gentleman that had it before made hangers for it, so the plants are actually growing across the ceiling and in the bedrooms and stuff. And so I'm not really sure how bad the windows really are. The 4 windows that I did find were good are on the north side of the house. None of them are visible from the street, but that was, again, evaluation from inside without taking the storm windows off and seeing what's on the outside and what's covered up. I do think this house has a lot of potential. There's 28 windows total in the house between the addition and the original. I think there was only 12 original windows.
Right, some of the windows that he counted are in the subsequent additions.
Yes. Yeah, so there's 13 original windows, 28 total in the house, and there's only 4 of them that are the original that are worth saving. And so then at that point it becomes, you have 4 that mismatch everything else. And that's including, that counts the 4 to put the bay window back in to original. I don't know, I don't really have that much more to add to it. The back chimney, not visible from the street. I don't know that it really has a lot of historic value to it. It goes through the middle of the dining room. I'm guessing it's probably the original wood cook stove or oil cook stove. But the dining room is fairly small and it takes up quite a bit of room of it. That's the reason why I want to take it out.
So the addition on the back, you're removing the addition?
Mm-hmm. The second one.
The second one.
Yeah, so the first one, this house didn't originally have a kitchen or a bathroom on it. And that's what the first addition is. That's where there's the laundry room, a kitchen, a bathroom, and a sunroom. And then somebody did really shoddy work, and it's kind of more like a lean-to than an addition, the second one.
Well, I've seen this property, I've walked around it, and it's kudos to you for taking on a project like this to honor and protect a house in Independence that deserves it. So, I know is there any further questions from Commission? Okay, and I believe we do have a second speaker in favor. Okay, would you have anything else, sir?
I don't.
Okay.
Thank you for hearing me.
Okay, so we do have someone else that would like to speak. His name is Ken Fetters. Ken Fetters, if you'd like to step up, please tell us your name.
My name's Ken Fetters, I live in Independence. I'm the next door neighbor. And I live in the historic First Baptist Church. I would encourage the approval of this for several reasons. If we don't encourage people like Jay who are gonna work on the building and try to save it, we're gonna lose more buildings in town. This building could almost legitimately be tore down, and we would lose that piece of this history. I would lose the parsonage that belonged to my church. So it's a little selfish on my part. If that building got tore down, we would see vinyl windows, and you would see those things that you don't want to put into a historic building, or that some people are proposing not to put into a historic building. And I just would, again, reiterate that I think that his plan to bring the building back to some structural stability and also some of the original detail, I would just encourage the commission to approve the proposal on those basis, that we don't lose that building, because it could very well be gone. So, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, we have another person in favor, it's James, is it Imhoff? Imhoff.
Yeah, my name is James Imhoff. I live directly across from the house, so I see it all the time, and I'm very excited about this proposal. I came here mainly in case there would be any objections to it. I wanted to say, please don't object. So I'm speaking in favor of it. I was also really interested to hear the historical aspects, which I didn't know. And I thought, hey, window, really? Oh, so that was the issue. So eager to meet my new neighbor and very excited about this.
Thank you. We'll now hear any neutral testimony. Okay, and anybody that is opposed. Okay, and I don't have any other cards up in front of me, so I'm guessing that we're good. Is there any further questions? Jay, why don't you say something?
I forgot, also, it was similar to Brian. The windows that I see to put in it, they will not disturb any of the exterior trim at all. They're installed from the inside. If you remove the trim that holds the sashes in place, take out the sashes and the new windows go in their place. They are wood framed, and then the trim goes back in and holds them in place on the inside. They are the same square footage of glass, same everything, but they will be double pane and insulated. They just won't be the old wavy glass from the time period. It will just be modern glass in the same configuration.
So it'll be in wood?
Yes, it will be.
Okay. Okay. Is there any further questions from the commissioners? Okay. I would like to move to adopt the findings. Do we want to add the condition of approval to have more information about the windows?
Excuse me, before you go to a motion, you need to decide if you are going to close the hearing
Oh,
or if you're going to keep it open.
okay. I would, and is that a consensus with everybody on the commission? Do we move to close the hearing? Yes. Okay, thank you. So then we move to adopt the motion with the condition that was suggested by staff to have more information on the windows? Or do you feel that the information that he gave us about the windows is sufficient?
I think it's more the windows.
Okay. As much information as possible?
I personally feel like the information we have is adequate, because they are one sash windows, so fairly simple.
And wood, we'll leave it base with wood.
Yeah, and I also feel that we have enough information.
I was gonna say there was enough even pictures to clearly state how deteriorated those windows are. And I think he's a little optimistic that 4 might be salvageable.
We'll take some optimism, that's fine.
Just try to be honest about it.
Okay, so
I have a question.
okay, sure.
The room where the wisteria is growing,
Yes.
okay. So that is coming from around the windows.
Yes,
So you pull the windows out inside.
I'm gonna cut all those plants, all those,
No, I get that, but what's the wall inside, once the window is pulled out, look like?
I will find out when I get the plants and everything out of the way. If there's structural damage, it will be repaired. If the exterior trim is rotten, if the side, I will repair anything that is not structurally sound when I get the plants off the side of the house and see how that is. It is not just a simple as put new window, a lot more of it's, I will ensure that it's correct.
What type of wood do you plan on using for the siding and windows?
I was planning on using fir for the siding. If I have to, I can track down cedar, but I do have access to a sawmill. And I can track down the garbage that makes that shiplap. What's that?
Out of fur?
Yeah, that's what I'm planning on using.
So I think, I move to adopt.
No, it's going to
I can't hear.
Somebody has to make a motion.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear Commissioner DeVane.
Okay, she's trying to help me through this because I'm stumbling, so, I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application, file number CA-2024-03, adopted findings, conditions, and staff recommendations as provided in the staff report. Do I have a second? Thank you. All right, appreciate that.
Clarification, so are you saying that you wanna, with the staff recommendations for more information on the windows? Is that what you stated?
No, well, no, I think that we've all agreed, it's the general, motion, or I think the majority of the commission has agreed that with the information that he's provided about the windows is sufficient enough to proceed. So I'd like to make a
So we're just
motion,
moving forward with the proposal.
we're moving forward with the proposal, I guess without the staff recommendations, with the windows.
The windows, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
Okay, and so majority rules in this case, correct?
yes.
Okay. I guess the decision is announced. Okay. I guess that's it. All right.
Well, you had it.
So-
Yeah, okay.
All the historic documents that you have show the house built in 1890, but the title for the deed says 1880.
Okay.
I was just curious.
It's probably the same thing as that other, it's probably the same. He asked about, he said that the deed shows 1880, the historical documents show 1890. It's probably the same thing as happened to that other house that was showing
Yeah,
1904 versus 1890. I don't know.
sweet fat fingers on it.
Yeah, maybe.
I see that quite often, for whatever reason. Did you have a question? Okay, so is there any other items?
Yeah, so what I would, I'm gonna just give you folks this, and I mean, I did get this from the folks at the state, and I think going to something like this, take one and just pass them down from each side. I think maybe moving forward, just because of the way that the historic standards are written related to windows, it'd be nice to be able to have something to get more information up front, so we're not having to go through situations like this, where we had a couple of window proposals. And so, the state folks did provide me with this sort of information. that apparently is used in Salem to evaluate windows.
So this is somebody that comes to the building and fills these out?
Right.
Who fills it out?
Well, I think that's a good question, but I do think that like having somebody like maybe soliciting somebody like Joseph to do that work, to evaluate windows, might make sense, it might be beneficial too. Even to have somebody like, if Joseph couldn't do it, have somebody like our building official just help me do something like that to evaluate those, and then you folks could have that information before a decision is being made on a window. Basically, just there, if you get into it, some of the stuff, that the Department of the Interior has put out related to windows, they just really encourage you to not replace them if possible. And Joseph sort of talked about it when he was here, if anybody remembers that presentation.
Yeah.
A lot of what he said is windows that are historic are modular essentially. You can take them apart and you can re-put them back together. You can fix them individually, whereas stuff like newer windows, if you break it, that whole fixture is coming out essentially, and you're having to put a new one in. Also, the window companies and whatnot have done a great job with convincing people that all energy efficiency issues associated with their house are associated with windows when they're not. You can insulate, you can do all sorts of things. So the Department of Interior, they really, really, really recommend not keeping windows if possible. And so,
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
This is just a suggestion. When people come to get the information to make a CA 124-24, how about if they get these for each window?
well, that's part of the reason why I'm asking you folks this right now. Because generally I think that this should happen.
I think Fred's suggesting that Joseph possibly be on staff to do that, right?
Right, or just we
Well,
throw
no, what I was thinking of is when people get into
them,
this.
even when they get into it, like, hey, we
This
need.
shows what they need to do right off the bat.
And both these,
As
But
opposed
goes
to.
to the question I asked earlier for the first window person, like how do we know if it's beyond the point, like this is what I needed?
yeah, exactly, and I didn't wanna say, well, we could do something like this, just because I felt like I wanted to talk with you folks about it outside of a public hearing first. What we do have on our application is the idea, like, and I told both the applicants, like, show the deteriorated nature of your windows, right? Show us the work so we can make a decision. Both of these, the information came in kind of late. It came in after I had typed up my staff report. And for the first one, I got information tonight at like 5:25. So I didn't have a chance to take a look at that. So I think, I don't know, I guess part of what I want to talk about is just how we do windows and like the process, because I do think that going to something like this and like, hey, any window that you're wanting to change out, you have to fill out one of these, or you have to have somebody fill it out for you, and you have to provide the information to help us make a good decision on it. I think that's important. I will say, I'll leave it there.
I mean, this, we get this kind of information, then we don't have to go through all these, oh, the picture is here, and, you know, if you look up in the corner there, you'll see that little thing, you know, if we have one of these for each window that they're going to replace, then you can kind of see.
Right, and the
Right.
second applicant definitely did a better job of providing that sort of information where they went through the house and they documented the nature of the windows.
But you don't even need to get a professional to do this. I mean,
Well,
it'd be nice if you did, but still, in all, I mean,
right, I mean,
somebody could do it themselves.
it could, I mean, it literally could be, me and the building official going out to a site and taking a look at this.
I absolutely love it, and I think that it definitely would have helped in that first circumstance, like maybe we wouldn't have had to look at things again, you know, they could have just proceeded, so.
Yeah,
This gives the people that own the building what we're deciding, you know.
Gives them clarity too. of what
Well,
we-
sure, you know, then they can decide, you know, okay, look at all this stuff. Maybe we don't wanna do this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is obviously expensive, you know.
right, I mean, in a lot of instances, repairing a window is actually cheaper than a new window. And I mean, Jeff, you sort of mentioned that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the window. If you've got a simple 1/1, it's pretty easy to replace the sash. When you've got rot in the framing, it's a little tougher, but you can fix any window. Any window can be restored, but there's definitely a cutoff, an economically viable cutoff for doing it.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you for getting the information and just helping us to improve this process.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, and I mean, what Jeff just said about windows is exactly what the lady at the state said, is basically any window can be restored. I mean, and it's interesting when you look at, she sent something else that showed how to use these things and how to evaluate some of the ones that were in poor condition were like literally falling apart, you know? If they weren't literally falling apart, they were in moderate condition, or, you know, but it was when they were literally, you could see evidence like, oh yeah, that piece is broken, you can tell, then it was in bad condition, so that was interesting.
I think that Anne might have something that she'd like to bring forward.
Yes, the standards.
Yeah,
When we had the meeting last time,
yeah,
I thought we decided that we were gonna cover standards at this meeting.
yeah,
And it turns out, however, that, you know, there was a work session between planning and the city council, and then the city council adopted the standards, so I kind of think, well, like, what happened to us?
so what standards is that?
There was a meeting that she's referring to from last week.
Last month.
Is that in regards to the governor's orders about,
About housing?
housing,
Yeah, right.
the housing standards that we're gonna have in historic downtown?
Yeah, so the council did,
Well, I know they had a work session,
they had a work session.
yeah, and we weren't part of that,
Right,
and so I'm kind of wondering why.
I don't know, that work session was about 15 minutes long. I don't know, there was a second work session that was specifically related to planning commission, so that's why I think we invited both planning commission and city council. The housing standards, you folks did have a chance to look at them. The last meeting, that draft, that was heard by the planning commission last Monday. Really, so the planning commission was familiar with that. We we were hoping to have that be specifically, an initial meeting with the city council. The planning commission was there in part because of the parking discussion that happened after. So, I don't know, that's a sin. A lot of times, I mean, it was nothing malicious. I think what we were doing just made sense, like, oh, the planning commission's gonna be there, we might as well invite them to that too. I think that was basically the thought process.
Is there any updates or anything that maybe the Aaron Commission could possibly give you to help you?
Well, obviously, we're not gonna cover standards for the historic preservation commission, that's what you're saying. Because they already did adoption on a whole bunch of things. The city council.
So the standards have not been adopted. The standards, that draft thing, you folks had a chance to take a look at.
Yeah, but we didn't discuss it at all because you weren't here at that particular meeting.
I thought we did discuss it at that meeting. We didn't discuss, the historic preservation standards, which is something that I was gonna bring to this meeting, but I thought because we had 2 public hearings, that it would push us a little late to have that discussion after the public hearings. So I still have that information, but that was gonna be much more of a training, sort of duplicating some of the stuff that we had done previously, where we looked at some buildings, how incremental changes over time have caused them to no longer be contributing to the district, just so we can sort of picture we get so many things that are little tiny changes, we think that they might not have a big impact, and a change to siding can take a house out of a contributing status. And so that's what that discussion was gonna be, but we didn't have that discussion because folks weren't here last time. But we did talk about the code. Because we had a fairly significant discussion about it, I thought, and
I think it would be in the minutes if we had, sorry.
yeah, it says 7.1, planner Evander addressed the commission and summarized the need for modifying the city's process when allowing adjustments to its housing standards. State law has changed, making some sweeping changes. Yeah, the thing that we didn't discuss was 7.2 on the agenda last time, historic district standards, consensus to hold this to a future meeting.
Okay, is there anybody else in the commission that would like to bring something to the table? Okay. Then, what we will do now, I know what you know is coming. If there's no further business to come before the commission, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
No, we need a motion and a second.
Oh, why am I missing that?
Motion.
That's okay. It just doesn't, that part's not there on my, on the script. So, I've been there a few times, you'd think I'd understand the process a little bit more, so thanks for your patience, everybody, today. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Miranda already did.
Okay, all right.
Second.
Okay, then meeting is adjourned. Thank you. All right, bye.